You know, the last time we sat down, it was a couple of years ago now in Stratford, you had every award imaginable except one. You have that one now, the Oscar. Now, they say that that makes a difference to a person's career. Now, I'm not sure when you're in your 80s whether it can make that much of a difference, but does it make a difference, that one award, an Oscar?
Yes, I think it does. I think, well, let's be honest. Okay. The money goes up. Automatically.
It's always
somehow.
the money.
It's always the money. I was doing pretty well for an 80-year-old idiot. And then I'm wonderful, got that supporting Oscar. And then right away, the attention immediately goes to you for a while, and you get even more scripts. So nothing to complain about. It's very nice. I thought Charlie Chaplin was the oldest guy to get I think he got an honorary Oscar. Mm-hmm. But no, it turned out to be me, because he was 80, I think. I thought he was 83, but he was 80, I was 83.
Well, records are made to be broken, so maybe you'll break your own record. Which brings up the movie you're in now, Remember. And, you know, I'm a sucker for that kind of a storyline. You know, any tie to the Second World War, any tie to the mystery behind trying to track down some of those who were responsible for some of the atrocities.
Yes.
I watch. But this movie also had another thread to it, and that was the thread of aging.
Yes.
And I wonder how that played into your mind when you considered the role, when it was placed in front of you. What you thought of that, given your own age.
Yes, I think unconsciously I was drawn to it. I didn't think right away of him as being old, because we don't, us strange people called actors. We imagine we're far more better looking and far handsomer, far more romantic than we really are. So the imagination...
I'm not sure that's only in acting.
No, but that can save your bacon and take over and push that fear aside. And then it suddenly hit me. Yeah, I said, my God, I've never done anything like this part before. I've never played a really ordinary human being who is failing and who is so introverted. And I thought, yes, I've got to do this. I really got to do it for my own sake.
You are the only person who could still recognize the man who murdered our families. Do you remember what you said you would do when Ruth died? I have planned everything for you. You must follow these steps precisely. His name is Otto Wallisch. You must find him. You must kill him.
What did you draw upon to do the role? I mean, in terms of, personal experience, you're not facing some of the problems that the person you play is, but you must have known others who are.
Yes. In order to do it, this part needs a friend. I've got to have a friend out there. I don't care. And I immediately thought of Atom Agorian, because he's such a psychiatrist, and he's a terrific guide. And so he liked the script, thank God, and said he would do it.
What about the issue of dementia? Because it plays such a
Yes, I didn't really
role.
Answer your question, did I?
No.
It was tough.
Well, you did, but...
Dementia, yes. Frightening, because it has hit me a couple of times in the theater.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, I've suddenly lost. There were two occasions it happened. It happened in Banff. I was doing a show with the orchestra, and I came on the opening night. And I'd done it several times, I knew it backwards. And I came on, and I couldn't speak. I absolutely was paralyzed.
You couldn't remember the lines?
I didn't seem to care whether I remember them or not, but I certainly couldn't speak. And I just smiled at the audience, and I was absolutely gaga. I went and sat down, and then the orchestra played, and I was supposed to come on again at the end of the overture and stuff. And I sat down on stage while the music was playing, and I thought, my God, this is the end of my career. this is it. As far as theater acting is concerned, I can't. And then, fortunately, the overture was long enough that I began to recover. And by the end, I was okay. I remembered everything else that evening. Now, the audience, of course, didn't know what the hell I was doing and didn't think of anything. They thought, this strange entrance, the guy comes on and says, absolutely bugger all, and goes and sits down. And then it was very frightening.
What was the other occasion?
The same thing in Barrymore. I played it over 150 times, and it was in Denver and Colorado, and I was, first act went like a bat out of hell. Second act, I couldn't remember my own name. I simply couldn't remember the prompter, who was in the play. The prompter is a character, and he kept yelling out the lines. Now, of course, the audience thought it was Barrymore who was always forgetting his lines, so that was part of the play. It wasn't. And it's
but is it forgetting the lines or forgetting why you're even there?
Why you're even there. Why you're even there. And you know that you have to say something. So finally I just said, what? I can't hear you. You know, I mean, terrifying. And I finally felt suddenly terribly tired. And I turned to the audience and I said, I'm so sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I had a tooth extraction this morning very early, and they gave me some, which is true, they gave me some anesthetic, and I'm awfully sorry, but I can't go on, and please, if you want your money back, go. It was the most horrible thing I've ever gone through.
Did you draw upon that,
now,
those experiences, when you were doing this?
Yes. Oh, I've drawn it. Whatever I do, and I'm fine. It's all come back. But there's always a moment when you think it's going to happen again. Olivier had the same problem. At the end of his career, he was terrified of not being able to function.
It's interesting you mentioned Olivier, because he tried to play a German as well in Boys of Brazil. He did play a German. Your accent's much better than his. Well,
he laid it on a bit, didn't he? Remember the great old German actor called Albert Bassermann? You would remember if you see him. He was a marvelous actor, and I think Larry kind of used him as a sort of he wanted to be like him. So he used Albert Bassermann and said, always like that, you know, it's playing the old German. Come on, just cool it, baby. That's a bit much.
Must be nice to be able to remember Sir Laurence Olivier as Larry.
Oh, yeah, I shouldn't do that. It sounds like name dropping. But
do you still get a buzz?
What?
In acting?
Oh, I enjoy it thoroughly. I enjoy the life thoroughly. It's never boring. I mean, I could be very boring in it, but it is not boring. No, because you never know what's going to happen next.
Is that sort of energy surrounding a role the same as it was when you started? And I guess that's what I mean by the buzz. Do you get as excited about a new role as you always were?
I think more so, because you've got an awful lot to protect.
I get embarrassed when people sort of come up. It's a pleasure to be recognized in a way. You can't sort of, you'd hate it if nobody did, but it is slightly embarrassing, because then the other people, if you're not too famous or you're not recognized, will say, who's he, you know? And what are you staring at him for? They think you're somebody else. I usually sign Richard Burton when they come up and ask me for my autograph, because I'm terrified they're going to say, who's Christopher Plummer?
When you look at young actors today, whether it be on stage or in film, what can you impart to them, or do you even try?
No, I don't dare try, because I think that's pompous, and it's a different way of experiencing talent today, because you've got the box, the television, and the stage seems to have been forgotten as a training ground in a funny way. So everybody's mic'd now. It's all different than it used to be, because I was trained, as indeed your wife was trained, to act without a microphone. You had to reach the back row with your voice and do all the nuances and make sure that the last guy in the downstairs in the back heard you.
You had to project.
Yeah. Now it's. I remember the first time Dustin Hoffman did Death of a Salesman, and I went to see it, and I thought, this is quite extraordinary the way this has been staged, because the entire cast seemed to just huddle around Dustin. Dustin was the only one that was mic'd. So they said, hey, let's get in there, you know, and well, hello, Dad. And that was the cheap way of being heard.
One of the first things you did, I don't know whether it was TV or stage or radio, was with Lorne Greene.
Yes.
Here in Toronto. Now, there was a person who had no trouble having his voice heard across the room. When you watch a performance, stage, film, whatever it may be, who, when you watch, inspires you or makes you emotional?
Oh, God. Well, I think it happens in movies too, but mostly in the theater. And when it works in the theater, it's absolutely wonderful, because you used your imagination. It hasn't all been spelled out for you as movies can do. It's the job of movies to visualize everything, so nothing is left to the imagination. And in the theater, it's the other way around. And when it works, it's wonderful. The greatest company I ever saw was the Berlin Ensemble in London in 1956. Bertolt Brecht had just died, and the company was more than fresh. And well, it was so moving. Mother Courage with Erna Weigel, who was married to Brecht and ran the company when he died. Her performance in Mother Courage, I'll never forget as long as I live. And when she hears on the front that her son has just been killed, all she does is she opens her mouth very wide. And that's all she does. And you, the audience, the whole audience, screamed for her. Unbelievable. I'll never forget it. She just did this agonizing face. And we all went, oh, my God, it's extraordinary. And that's theater at its best. That piece of acting was unbelievable. That took me out of the theater.
Well, as always, it's an incredible opportunity to talk to you and an experience.
Thank you so much.
Thank
I'm
you.
a fan.